And I have Dr. John in the studio from Creation Ministries International. And, of course, Creation Ministries International have their own website, creation.com. But today, Dr. John's here and he's answering your questions. And we love it. If you have any questions, if you could just send them through to us via our text line, just SMS 0401 949 949. Good afternoon, Dr. John.
Good afternoon, Mick.
It's great to have you in here. And, of course, we had you last week. We've got you again this week. We always have so many cool things to talk about. And interestingly, Dr. John, there's been a topic that you've talked about a few times over the last few years, but something crazy has happened online. Obviously, a lot of people are asking the same question. Tell us about it.
Yeah, look, very exciting news actually, Mick. I was at a Creation Ministries function last Thursday night, and I was having a chat with Mark Harwood, who did several sessions here only a couple of weeks ago. And by the way, Mark said how much he appreciated being on air with you. It's really terrific. And what a wonderful job Rima does for this area. You know, to be able to have a radio station that promotes biblical truth. You know, I mean, that is just so fantastic. And, we really appreciate being on here. So, yes. But anyway, look, he told me something very exciting. You know, Creation Ministries now have got a YouTube channel, and they've got quite a few programs on it. And Mark himself has done one, and it's why the earth can't be old. And as you rightly say, that's something that we've talked about so many times on this program. How old is the earth? Yep. And of course, we say it's not old. It's only thousands of years, not millions and billions.
Now, I have noticed you guys have got a lot of videos on there, but this one in particular.
This one in particular, Mark said, and you've looked it up now, he told me last week that it had 650,000 views worldwide. Mm-hmm. And he said it's going up at the rate of about 5,000 a day. You've just looked it up. And now it's got 675,000. Yep. So it has been going up at 5,000 a day.
It just shows how many people have got that question in their mind.
Oh, yeah.
And then they go and watch it. And it's, the video goes for like 51 minutes. So, a lot of people interested in that particular question, aren't they?
If any of our listeners want to have a look at YouTube, Dr. Mark Harwood, Why the Earth Can't Be Old, Creation Ministries YouTube channel. I mean, that and the comments have been pretty favourable for the most part. I mean, you get a few abusive ones, of course, because a lot of people are very scoffy. But they've also done a few TikTok clips for about a minute and whatever, and that's probably going to affect the young people. That's great. So, usage of social media really is one way that Creation Ministries is trying to get into to affect the world with this our Bible message that the Bible is true from the very first verse, but. Because this one's my last for the year, we've got another speaker next week. I'm not sure who it is off the top of my head, but I thought I'd address a couple of questions that people have asked me, and they've wanted me to talk about them on air. So I thought I'd better do it, seeing as it's the last one for the year.
Yep. By the way, it's Dr. Taz Walker.
Taz Walker,
next week.
yeah. Well, tune in next week too, because Taz is great. But I had a friend raise the issue of the blood groups, right? And he said that if we're all descended from Adam and Eve, how is it possible that we have all of these different blood groups?
That's a good question.
Talking about the ABO lot mainly, of course. And we've got A and B and AB and O and whatever. And it doesn't seem possible that you could get all these blood groups from just two people if we're all descended from Adam and Eve.
Yeah, well, you're a doctor and we've got genes that come from our mum and our dad.
Yeah, but I mean, how do you get a whole range of groups if you've only got two people?
Well, I've still got the question in my mind. When you brought it up, I thought that was a good one.
Yeah, well, it is. And on the face of it, it's not easy to answer. So it's probably worth us having a quick look at the history of blood groups, because let's face it, before the modern world, who would have known? You know, I mean, if you go back a couple of centuries, there weren't any things like blood transfusions or anything.
They didn't
like
know what
that.
blood groups were.
No,
Yeah.
well, in fact, the circulation of the blood was only described in the 17th century by William Harvey, and I think somebody about that time tried to transfuse a dog with dog's blood, and that seemed to work a bit. But it wasn't until the 1800s, really, that any blood transfusions were actually tried. And there was an obstetrician, I think his name was James Blundell, but he did a blood transfusion for a woman who had a postpartum hemorrhage, and it worked. So, they started doing things like that, or having a go at it, and sometimes it really worked well, and other times it didn't work very well at all, and they really didn't have any idea why.
Yep.
And it wasn't until the early part of the 1900s that a bloke called Karl Landsteiner discovered that there were these different blood groups.
Yep.
And of course he then described the A, B and O group series.
So he realised that some won't work and some will.
That's right. And then they started doing blood cross-matching before trying to transfuse, and that seemed to work pretty well. But it was quite a few decades later that Landsteiner and others found out the Rh, positive and negative, as well. But and there's actually quite a lot of different blood groups, but most of them are not really important in transfusing. But let's have a look how it might have started.
Yep.
Right now, if we look at Genesis, Adam was made first, okay, and then Eve was made from Adam.
Yes.
So she was probably a clone of Adam. Now, all God had to do, because Adam would have had an X chromosome and a Y chromosome, all he had to do to make Eve was get rid of the Y and put an additional X, and hey presto, you've got a woman. So that looks like how God made Eve. But Eve and Adam would have been pretty much the same genetically, because she was made from him.
So same blood group, you're saying? Or?
Yeah, well, what we to have all the variety that we've got in people, we've all got 2 genes for everything, and with the blood groups you can say an A and a B, but that's the way that we can have all of this diversity amongst people. But let's say Adam and Eve were both 1A and 1B. Well, you would think that you could only get 2 A's, which would be A, or 2 B's, which would be B, or one of each, which would be AB.
Yes.
So where does O come from? Right. Anyway, it looks as though people have researched this for a while, and it looks as though O is actually a mutant form of A. Now, when we say A and B, we mean they've got a particular protein, an antigen, on the surface of their red blood cells, you see. Well, O doesn't have any of them, and it looks like it's a mutant form of A. And it must have been pretty good, because...
So it's basically an A, but it's lost information.
It's lost information. And, that must work pretty well, because in our society, O is about 45%, and A is about 40%, and B is about 10%, and AB is about 5%, something like that. So that's how we can get A, B and O, starting with only 2 people.
Yep.
But O is a mutant.
Yeah,
So I'm O. I'm a mutant. But yeah, no, that's it was a very good question, because you would think if there's only 2 genes for blood groups, then how is it possible?
Yep.
But that is the answer, that O is actually a mutation from A, so it has lost information. And that's the common thing that we've talked about all mutations, how mutations can't be responsible for evolution because they go the wrong way.
They keep losing information.
They're
not
losing
gaining.
information rather than gaining information.
Yeah.
And so if you can't gain any information, you've only got what was created there in the first place, then how can you evolve?
Yeah.
You can't add it. You can only subtract it and then express what has been subtracted. And that's how we've seen all sorts of animals adapting to environments. They don't add information that helps them with the environment. They lose information so that they are more adapted to that particular environment. And then, of course, they pass on that lost information or the loss of information to their progeny.
Yeah.
So that's how you get this diversity in particular environmental niches.
I guess when you look at those blood groups, when you sort of mentioned that, I started thinking, okay, what about cats? Well, when Noah's Ark came around and they had to put cats on the ark, well, they didn't put 2 tigers plus 2 lions plus 2 kitty cats plus, they just put 2 cats, and they would have been the I guess the closest thing to the perfect cat, and that had all of the genetic information, and of course all the other cat groups are where bits of genetic information have sort of fallen away and they've adapted in different ways, but there's still 2 of the same kind. Well, that's kind of the same thing as the blood, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it is. But when you think about Noah's Ark, of course, we must remember that for the clean animals, they had either 7 of them or maybe even 7 pairs. And cats are pretty clean animals,
Yep.
I mean, they're always cleaning themselves. But, in those cats on Noah's Ark, as you rightly say, it wouldn't have been 2 tigers and 2 lions or whatever. But within those cats, there would have been all the diversity that we find in the cats worldwide now. And they've diversified as they've been in particular environmental niches.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know why tigers got stripes like that. You've seen those cartoons where the tiger weaves in and out of the bamboo. But it could be something like that,
Yeah. Wow.
But when you think about it, when you look at leopards, for example, we all know leopards are spotted, but black panthers, black leopards, they're spotted too. You've seen those shows
Yep.
where you can actually see those rosettes coming through the black,
Yeah.
even though they're all black in colour. They're there.
Yeah. Yes, so they certainly share some genetic information. Wow, we're with Dr. John from Creation Ministries International. If you have any questions for Dr. John, please send them through to our text line 0401 949 949. We have Dr. John in the studio from Creation Ministries International, and he's been talking to us about blood groups and how from 2 people, Adam and Eve, did we get numerous blood groups. And, it all makes sense to me now, Dr. John, but we did have a question that came in. It says, thanks, Dr. John, on the blood group question. So RH blood groups, same deal, or can you explain the RH issues?
Yeah, well, that's a great question too, because it's not quite the same deal. With the ABO blood groups, we've postulated that there's an A gene and a B gene, and they're equally expressive. But with the Rh positive and Rh negative genes, they're not equally expressive. One's said to be dominant and the other is recessive. And positive is dominant over the negative. So that if you have 2 positives, you're Rh positive. If you have 2 negatives, you're Rh negative. But if you have a positive and a negative, then you are positive. And it was discovered that there was a bit of a problem, particularly with women in pregnancy, because if the father was a positive and the woman was a negative, in the process of birth, particularly with the first baby, some of the baby's blood would get into the mother's circulation. And that wouldn't do her any great harm, but she would produce antibodies against the Rh positive, you see.
Right.
And with subsequent pregnancies, because she already had the antibodies, sometimes those antibodies would get into the baby's circulation and do great damage to the baby, and it got worse with every pregnancy.
Wow.
So that was solved by giving any Rh negative woman an injection of antibodies, or to mop up the antibodies, so that it doesn't cause any problems anymore. But it used to cause great problems, particularly with second and third and subsequent pregnancies.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, it's similar, but here we have two genes, one dominant and one recessive, whereas quite often with two genes, they're equally expressive.
Yep.
Yeah.
But same thing can I mean, that's sort of part of the same thing as far as
It
the
is part
blood
of
groups.
the same sort of thing, yeah.
Yeah.
And now, of course, we routinely cross-match and check for positive, negative, A, B, and O, you know. So, blood transfusion's pretty good now.
Wow. It just shows that over time, you know, as science gets better, we learn more and more. But then sometimes we look at science getting better and some things that, well, we sort of assume they're scientists are pointing to things like, say, dinosaurs. And, you know, they're saying, hey, look what we've discovered. Dinosaurs don't look the way you thought they looked because we've just discovered this. Yet it's not real science, is it?
No, and really what we were talking about before, Mick, they haven't really discovered anything. But if you pick up a children's picture book now, you'll see a lot of dinosaurs drawn with some feathers.
Yeah.
You know, often not fully feathered, but just a few feathers. Now you think, why is that? Have they discovered feathers on dinosaurs?
Yeah.
And the answer, of course, is no. They haven't discovered
haven't?
any. No.
So has there been any science around it?
Aha. Well, no, there hasn't been any real science around it, except that the evolutionists believe that the dinosaurs really didn't die out.
Uh-huh.
Right? They didn't die out 65 million years ago. Some of them did, but they evolved. They evolved into birds.
Right.
See, and so because that's a belief, and it's only a belief because there's never been any feathers discovered on dinosaur fossils, because that's a belief, now the artists are drawing dinosaurs with feathers in the children's picture books. But that's what it's all about.
So my old chicken used to be like a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Well, that's right. A mini. Well, I mean, some roosters will attack you, won't they? Yeah. But look, it really is a bit of a joke, really, because traditionally, of course, dinosaurs were regarded as reptiles, and they were believed to have scales. And in fact, there has been a discovery of actual scaly skin in a dinosaur fossil, you know, and not just a skin impression on rock or anything like that, an actual piece of scaly dinosaur skin.
Wow.
But they haven't found any feathers. But they believe that dinosaurs evolved into birds. I mean, when you think about it, I don't know where they got that idea, probably because both of them came out of eggs. But when you think about the difference between birds' eggs and reptile eggs are sort of more soft-shelled, leathery shelled, whereas birds have got calcified eggshells.
Yep.
And birds have to incubate their eggs, whereas reptiles don't incubate their eggs.
Yep.
You know, and well, how could they? Because they're cold-blooded, so they wouldn't be able to warm the eggs up.
Yes.
You know, so and when you think about it, you think of all the little turtles that hatch out, and off they go, beetling off towards the sea, trying to make it before the seagulls get to them.
Yes.
But they're able to walk and fend for themselves immediately after they're born.
Yes.
But of course, no birds can do that. Once they come out of the shell, the parent birds have to look after them. If they didn't get parented, well, they'd all die.
For quite a long time, yeah.
And I remember thinking one time I was watching a David Attenborough show, and I think it was little chameleons coming out of eggs and crawling up a branch and flicking a tongue out and catching insects immediately, you know. And when you think of the little crocodiles, you know, they swim around straight after they come out of the shells. They don't need parental nurture.
Yes.
I mean, that's only one of the huge differences, but there's multitudes of others. I mean, the respiratory system for birds is completely different from the respiratory system for reptiles.
Yep.
They're actually more similar to us. You know, what we call a bellows type lung, where, you know, in and out, in and out, in and out. But birds have got a completely different countercurrent type system, where the blood and the air sacs go in the opposite direction, and the blood gets oxygenated that way. So, and birds have got another structure that no dinosaurs have got, and we certainly don't have. But it's interesting that they found a fossil bird with this structure called a syrinx, and they dated it at the same age as dinosaurs, 65 million years or whatever, but it had this particular structure. It's a syrinx, which is what enables birds to sing. I mean, we've got a larynx and birds have got a larynx and so on, but this is something that only birds have got. We don't have one of those, even though we sing with our larynx.
Yep.
But birds have got this syrinx that they sing with, and of course, I mean, it's legendary what the variety of bird calls and bird songs are. It's fantastic.
And dinosaurs didn't have that.
No, they didn't have that. They couldn't sing like a canary. But look, there's just so many other differences that make it. I mean, it is really ridiculous because when you think about it, you have to have individual changes in the nucleotide bases, one by one by one by one, and you would need hundreds of thousands, if not millions, to do one little thing. I mean, you often see dinosaur tracks in mud, you know, and they're three-toed. And if you looked at an ostrich track in mud, it would be three-toed. Look similar, but they're not the same because the digits grow out of different pocketing in the development. You know, they're not the same. And of course, birds have got a fourth claw going backwards, fourth leg going backwards. It's called a perching claw. So that's why they can sit on a perch and lock themselves onto it, and they're not going to fall off. Whereas other animals, dinosaurs or reptiles in particular, don't have that. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure even the flying mammals like bats, they don't have that perching claw, which is why they have to hang upside down.
Yeah, right.
You know? Whereas your bird can go and sit on a branch and it's got the locking claw at the back. Yeah. So really it is just fantastic, the sort of differences that God has put into all of his creatures. And birds fly. You know, dinosaur didn't fly. I mean, we have had reptiles that did fly, but they didn't have feathered wings. They had sort of leathery type wings. They didn't have feathers. Yeah. And it's a real, what you might call a flight of fancy to even believe that they could possibly have evolved into birds when there is absolutely no evidence that that's happened.
And the other thing I always think about is there was so many different types of dinosaurs, so many different sizes and shapes and everything else. They have all evolved into birds. I mean, you sort of think, okay, well, couldn't they have turned into different types of like looking things like you see on the movies in Star Wars and stuff? But, you know, no, they just go, no, all dinosaurs turned into birds. Yeah. And it's like, wow.
The other ridiculous thing about it, of course, is that reptiles are often classified by the type of hip that they have.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them, one group is called the lizard-hipped reptiles,
Mm-hmm.
and another group called the bird-hipped reptiles because they have hips like birds.
Yep.
But it's the ones with the lizard-type hips that they think evolved into the birds, not the ones with the bird-type hips.
Okay.
I mean, it really is just crazy. And I mean, it's one of these things. Evolutionists are really clutching at straws, whereas all the evidence that we ever look at in the animal kingdom absolutely screams God's design right from the beginning.
Yeah.
There hasn't been evolution occurring at all. You can't add information. You can have change, but as we discussed before, it's always due to loss of information and adaptation because of it.
Yeah. Wow. That's awesome. You've just been listening with Dr. John from Creation Ministries International. And, of course, next week we have Dr. Taz.
Yeah,
So,
the listeners will be blessed by Dr. Taz just like they were with Dr. Mark Harwood too. And I have to say I really appreciated another year with you, Mick. It's been great to chat with you. But I'll be back in January.
Oh, we're looking forward to it already. Thank you, Dr. John. And for everybody out there, please don't forget, it is our November appeal. And, of course, we're appealing to all of our listeners to support the station. Donate by going to our website, rema.cc. All donations over $2 are fully tax deductible. And, of course, that allows us to continue putting the programs that we put together for you and bringing Creation Ministries International here for you. Thank you, Dr. John. Another awesome week.
Yes, thank you, Mick. And what a shame it would be if the station were not supported, because it does such a fantastic job in the community.
Absolutely. Well, thank you.